Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Okay, we're starting this week's session. So, in the past 2 weeks, I've been speaking about purification and hygiene. I'm going to try and wrap it up this week, try and finish it off so I can then do a session on Ramzan next week. So last week, we discussed the farais of wuzu, the 4 aspects which are farz in wuzu. Without washing them, your wuzu will not be valid. The next step is those actions which are sunnah in wuzu. So sunnah means those actions which were regularly performed when doing wuzu by the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the first action is making intention. Making intention for wuzu needs to be at the beginning. This doesn't have to be verbal. The next one is saying Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. If a person said Bismillah, that's sufficient also. Basically starting with the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The third one is washing the hands up to the wrist 3 times. Obviously, you start with the right hand and then the left hand. Brushing the teeth with miswak, a very important sunnah, especially as Ramzan is approaching. I will discuss in the Masail and in the rulings of Ramzan that we're not really allowed to brush our teeth or use a mouthwash for fear of it going down our throats. Using miswak is commendable. Using miswak is valid, and it's a virtue for wuzu while a person is fasting. Miswak has many benefits, and one of the benefits is if a person does miswak regularly, he or she will pass away with the kalima before they pass away. The next one is gargle the mouth 3 times. I already mentioned last week, if a person is fasting, then do take the water right down to the throat. The next one is passing water into the nostrils. Again, if a person is fasting, he or she should not take the water right up to the nose. The next one is khilal of the beard. So khilal of the beard, meaning passing wet fingers into the beard. So there's 2 sections of the beard here. We have the hair that touches the hair that is intact with the face, with the skin on the face. To wash that part of the beard is farz, and the part of the beard which is not touching the face, which is kind of hanging down, that only needs to be wiped. So the part of the face that's touched with the beard, that part of the face needs to be washed. Then make khilal of the finger and toes. So pass water, wet fingers into each other. Washing each part 3 times. Making masa of the whole head once. Making masa of the whole, or making masa of the quarter of the head is farz. Making masa of the whole head is sunnah. Making masa of the ears. Masa, the word term masa means passing a wet hand over the head, also passing wet fingers over the ears. The next sunnah is performing wuzu in order. So a person shouldn't be starting from the feet. Obviously, you start in the correct order, systematical order, and then also washing each part one after another without any pause. So no part dries up before the next step. Okay, so that's the sunnah. I will go through this in detail in a few weeks' time. Okay. Which aspects break a person's wuzu? There are certain things that break a person's wuzu, and if this does happen, then a person would not be able to perform their salah or read Quran Kareem, etc. So first of all is going to the toilet or anything that comes out of the private parts, that will break a person's wuzu. Flowing of blood. So we here, it's not just seeing blood on a part of the body, it's actually the flowing of blood. So let's say a person has had a wound and the blood flows from the area, then the wuzu will break. Okay, going mad or insane, fainting, um, falling asleep by resting against something or lying down, vomiting a mouthful, laughing in namaz, and passing wind. All these aspects will break a person's wuzu. So discharging of gas, passing wind, even though if there's no sound. Laughing aloud in namaz is only for those people who have reached the age of maturity. A young minor, if they laugh in namaz, wuzu will not break. Why does wuzu break when a person laughs? Is because of the sheer respect a person should have while performing salah. A person is in the presence and in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and despite that, having no respect, a person laughs in namaz. So because as a kind of minor punishment, that person's wuzu will be invalid, and the person's wuzu will break by laughing in namaz. And laughing, meaning laughing so loud that the next person or the person next to him or her in salah can hear them laughing. What other makruhats of wuzu? The term makruh means something that's disliked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So doing wuzu in a dirty place, to talk about worldly affairs while performing wuzu, to clean the nose with the right hand, as all dirty things and aspects like that have to be done with the left hand. To perform wuzu against the sunnah, meaning not performing it in order, maybe missing out some sunnah without any valid reason. So makruhat, by doing a makruh, a person would not receive the maximum reward for wuzu. The next part is the mustahabbat of wuzu. Mustahabbat means that a person would increase their reward of wuzu by doing the following. So number one, facing the qibla, to make sure sitting in a high and clean place so that no splashes of the used water go onto a person's clothing or body. Start with the right hand, masa of the neck, and performing wuzu without any assistance. So basically doing wuzu yourself, if a person is physically able. If a person is not physically able, then they may seek assistance. So that was a brief insight and a brief summary of some aspects of wuzu, which I will go into detail in a few weeks' time, inshallah. The next part I want to discuss again is the masa on the socks, wiping over the socks. Okay, the practical method of wuzu I've been through last week. So wiping over the socks. So for people who find it hard to wash their feet for wuzu, whether they are traveling or whether they are at work or whether they are at school, it is permissible for them to perform masa over socks. But again, there are specific type of socks which a person can make masa over, a person can wipe over instead of washing their feet. The socks that a person is allowed to wipe upon are known as khuffain. So this section contains important information on how to perform it correctly. If it's not done correctly, then the cleanliness for prayer will not have been obtained, and any subsequent prayers will be invalid. So the question is, what type of socks can we do masa on? What we want to understand is that in the time of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, leather socks were used. So even now, leather socks are still available. But with leather socks, it can look a bit odd when wearing shoes and trainers. They are quite thick, and in certain circumstances, a person may want to just wear normal socks. So masa make over normal socks is not allowed. Masa over normal socks is not allowed. However, masa upon some specific type of socks would be allowed. So we're going to find out which kind of socks a person can use for masa. The jurists and the fuqaha, they have stated that there are certain amount of conditions which the socks must satisfy before you can perform masa on them. The socks which satisfy these conditions are normally made out of leather, which I just mentioned. And also making masa on the socks is against analogy, because it would seem that, you know, how can wiping over leather socks be a substitute to washing the feet? But because it's been mentioned in the hadith, that's why we take this as a ruling which is allowed and valid. So the conditions are that the socks cannot be transparent, they must be waterproof, they must stay in a place without being tied, and they should also have a shape of a sock as well. If you were to leave the sock, you know, if you were to leave the sock, the shape of the sock would still be there. It wouldn't essentially, you know, just kind of roll up and turn into a normal sock. So it needs to maintain the shape of a normal sock. So nowadays, fortunately, there are companies out there who have made such socks which look like a normal sock, and they satisfy the conditions. They satisfy the conditions right for masa. So there are two such companies who've done a very good job. Actually, there's another one as well. There's a company called Seal Skins. You can check that up on the internet. There's also a company called Dexshell. And there's a third company as well, which I normally use. I'm just forgetting the name now. I'll recall it later on. So there are certain socks within these companies which are eligible to make masa upon. So you can actually just wear the sock, and masa will be valid upon that sock, even though it's not made out of leather. So you've got to remember, is those socks from deck shell and seal skins which have been approved by the ulama. It's not all type of socks, okay? Yeah, so if a person is to purchase a socks, certain type of socks, then they need to be approved by the ulama. Maybe before you purchase the socks, you can find out from the ulama whether these socks are valid or not, because they are quite expensive. They start from about 15 to 20 pounds a pair. Okay. Now these socks are obviously thinner than leather socks. So when you're wearing them in shoes or trainers or whatever, they do look like normal socks. So they're ideal for traveling, for going to work, going to university, going to school, etc. I mean, nowadays in school and university and even at work, washing feet can be a massive problem. So it would be a fantastic idea by purchasing these socks, maybe make wuzu at home. And so when the time of salah approaches at work, university, college, wherever, then all a person has to do is a normal wuzu, and then just wipe over the seal skins or Dexshell socks, the ones that have been allowed. So that makes life easier. So how will the masa be done on the socks? So first of all, a person must make complete wuzu, including washing his feet before he or she puts on the socks. So complete wuzu must be made first of all, including washing the feet. So once that is done, when a person needs to then renew his or her wuzu, they will simply just wipe the part of the sock which is at the top of the foot, starting at the toes and then working back towards the foreleg, just above the ankles. And the minimum requirement is to use at least 3 fingers, at least 3 fingers, wiping from the toes all the way up to the foreleg, just beyond the ankles. Okay. And this will be done using the right hand to wipe the right foot and the left hand to wipe the left foot. And only wiping them once will be required. Now, a lot of people have a misconception that, when does Masa start? Masa does not start by wearing the socks. Imam Shafi Rahmatullah alayhi, I think he has an opinion that Masa starts as soon as the socks are worn. According to us, as an example, so first of all, a person who's resident at home, he or she is allowed to wear the socks for a maximum of 24 hours. And a traveler is allowed to wear it for a maximum of 72 hours, 3 days, without taking the socks off. So when does the time start? So the time starts when the initial wuzu has been broken. So for example, if a person makes wuzu at 12 o'clock, he or she wears the socks, and wuzu breaks, by passing wind or bleeding or whatever it is, wuzu breaks at 1 o'clock, then the 24 hours for a resident at home will start from 1 o'clock or not at 12 o'clock. So 24 hours will start from 1 o'clock. And this same goes for a traveler. Again, we will go into detail regarding Masa on the socks when the chapter does come, okay? This session, I've kind of summarized a lot of points into one session because it's quite important, or regarding purification. So I thought I would discuss each aspect in a summarized version, and then we'll go into more detail next time. So as is mentioned on the slide, you can see when wuzu needs to be renewed, wipe the top part of each sock from the toes, working back to the foreleg. Use the right hand to wipe the right sock and the left hand to wipe the left sock. For a resident at home, a person who's not a traveler, he or she is allowed to wear it for 24 hours. And even though wuzu breaks, okay? The only exception is if the socks are taken off, then the masa is totally broken. And for a traveler, it's 72 hours, 3 days. Okay, now the next section what I'd like to ask is, what breaks the masa? So if a person is a resident at home, then by 24 hours passing, the passing of 24 hours, whether his wuzu breaks or not, his masa will break. So he or she has to take the socks off and they need to renew their masa. And for a traveler, if 72 hours pass for a traveler, then again their masa is broken. If socks are removed or accidentally come off, in both situations, that breaks the masa. If wuzu breaks within the validity period of the masa, so for example, a resident has made masa and it's been like 3 hours. So if wuzu breaks after 3 hours within the validity period of the masa, then only the masa needs to be done on the socks. A person wouldn't require to wash their feet. So they do the whole wuzu again, and they would only make masa on the sock. They wouldn't need to wash their feet. That's what that basically means. Now, a very important question, and a lot of people have this misconception. There are groups out there who believe that a person is allowed to make masa on normal cotton socks, the day-to-day socks that we actually wear. So I'd like to mention a few points. So question is, can a person do masa on cotton socks? There's no authentic Sahih hadith which states that masa can be done over normal socks. neither in Bukhari Sharif, neither in Muslim Sharif, which are the most authentic books after the Quran Kareem. According to all four jurists, the Imams, all four schools of thought, Masa will not be permissible on them. The only hadith which says it is permissible is in Abu Dawud Sharif, and that hadith has been classed as weak. And it's a principle in hadith and a principle in jurisprudence that rulings, Islamic rulings, cannot be obtained from weak ahadith. Therefore, it's not advisable to perform masa over any sock which does not meet the requirements stated by the ulama. If a person does perform masa over them socks, then the wuzu will not be valid and the salah will also not be valid. And if you want further explanation, there are links in a website called Tafsir Rahimi and Al-Balagh. You'll find plenty of detail there. And in normal circumstances, if a person can wash his feet, then they should do so, because this is the original ruling. You know, for wearing masa socks for no reason, without a valid reason, it's still okay, as it is a sunnah of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. But the original ruling is washing the feet. If a person is at home, they should wash their feet. And if a person is in circumstances like travel, college work, etc., then they have the option of wearing the masa socks. Okay, so that was regarding masa on the socks. Does anybody have any questions regarding masa on the socks? Right. Just give me 1 second, guys. Right, okay, that's it, yeah. There's a company called Daky, D-A-K-Y. D-A-K-Y, and that company has made socks solely for the purpose of wuzu. So if you go onto that website, D-A-K-Y, all their socks are permissible for wuzu. Okay, so there's 3 companies I mentioned so far. Deck Shells, Seal Skins, which again, you have to find out whether the socks are compatible for wuzu. But the socks that are sold by DAKY, Daki, all their socks are compatible and they satisfy the requirements for masa. Okay, the next section is regarding masail for young people. So there are many times when a person who has just become mature comes across a situation which can be confusing and also disturbing. So in this section, we're going to try and answer some of the most common scenarios. One must remember that these things are natural and a person should not be embarrassed by them. So as you can see in the screen, if a person does have a wet dream, what should they do? So this can be for a person who experiences this for the first time or a person who has just had one. As soon as a person has woken up and realized that they've had a wet dream, they should make preparation for ghusl. And I've already explained last week that there are 3 farz in the ghusl. Without doing them, a person will stay impure. So prepare for ghusl right away. Do not delay so you miss a salah, especially Fajr namaz, Fajr salah. One must definitely not delay the ghusl so they miss an obligatory salah. Therefore, ghusl should be done right away. And the ghusl doesn't have to be very long, like I mentioned last week, just washing the whole body and make sure a person satisfies the requirements of the farz ghusl. You go to the bathroom first of all, make istinja. Washing the private parts is a sunnah whether the person has been to the toilet or not. If a person has had this situation in the early portion of the night, then it's recommended that they have a bath at that time. But again, if not possible, then as long as it's done before before the obligatory salah. They should obviously have preparations ready in their room. It'll be better. Have a towel, clean set of clothes, and make ghusl according to the sunnah method. The person's clothes will also be impure. So now sometimes people find it embarrassing to put them into the laundry bin, as they might have a strong smell or be quite wet. So it's recommended put it into a plastic bag first of all, and then you can wet that area, maybe wash that area, and then put it into the laundry basket. So let's look at some common questions now. Question: if a person wakes up thinking that they've had a wet dream, do they need to perform ghusl? So the answer is, if there's no visible signs of a wet dream, then there's no need to perform ghusl. If there's no visible sign, okay? Or, yeah, okay. So what do you do if you've had a wet dream in the masjid? Then what happens? The answer is, don't delay the ghusl, wake up a senior member of the Jamaat so they can escort you to the bathroom. Perform ghusl and put on clean clothes. Don't leave any impure clothes or bedding in the masjid. Always remember to take spare clothes if a person has been residing inside the masjid. So for young people, my advice is have enough spare clothing, towels, bed sheets, pajamas. If you know how to use your washing machine, then wash clothes yourself. If you don't, if you need anything else, don't be afraid to ask your parents. And the most important thing is stay park at all times. Okay, the more park you stay, the more clean you are, the more person will have spirituality inside them, Islamic spirituality. The next section I'd like to address is the main difficulties a student has when they go to read salah at school or college. Let's have a look then. So can someone tell me what do you think the main problems could be at school or college? To pray salah, what kind of problems can be? So in the chat function, I'd like to write down the problems that you may face while you're in school, college, or in the workplace. And it's obviously the time of salah. What problems can a person face? Wuzu, okay. Any other problems? Finding a place to pray, exactly right. Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking the same. Thank you, space. Well done. Yeah. I mean, finding a place to pray, cannot do wuzu or wash feet, peer pressure, not enough time, no permission from teachers. All these are problems. So we'll try and address a few anyway. So nowadays, many children have facilities, to read salah in school and college. Some schools, I know of many schools in Bradford where we live, that they do have facilities to pray Juma namaz, they have facilities to pray Zohar namaz, but they still face practical issues. I mean, the first thing is, if you don't have space to pray namaz, what I suggest is that the parents get in contact with the head teacher, and the parents should be demanding a space for prayer, because if the parents don't speak up, then the school will not bother too much. So performing wuzu at school, if you can't wash your feet, one of the most common questions is, how can I perform wuzu? To wash my feet in the sink, etc. Well, I've already discussed, right, regarding masa socks. I mean, the situation also occurs in many workplaces as well, due to health issues. Sometimes people are not allowed to wash their feet in the sink. We should be mindful that this custom can appear strange to other people who do not know what wuzu is. And to some people, it can also cause offense as well. So we need to be sensitive about such issues when we're in the workplace or at school or even the airport. So there are some alternatives, right? Um, if a person lives nearby, they should go home, do wuzu at lunch break. If a person is able to keep their wuzu, then perform wuzu before leaving for school or work. If a person has a disabled bathroom, maybe in their school or college or workplace, maybe use that with permission. Um, and I think the best option, in my opinion, would be wearing masa socks, and then there's just no issue. Make sure you wear your masa socks before you go to work, school, or college. And instead of washing your feet in the sink, all you need to do is pass your hand or fingers over your socks, and that substitutes washing the feet. So, regarding reading Salah at school, when performing wuzu, many people leave a lot of water on the floor around the sink. We have to realize that people also, other people also use facilities, whether they're Muslim or non-Muslim. So we have to make sure that we're clean. We're clean. We stay clean and we clean all of the water, especially on the floor. I mean, most of the time, paper towels are available. Make sure you clean that area before you actually leave the bathroom or the sink, because it could cause somebody to slip and have a serious injury. Islam teaches us to be clean, respectful, and help protect other people from harm and injury. By leaving a mess, it would cause a potential hazard, and it would also be acting against the teachings of Islam, which we don't want to do. Okay. Right. Okay, guys. I'd like you guys to log off and log in again because the session is about to end. Jazakallah.